start. Hey everybody! Happy Tuesday. How are we all? Come on board, come on board. Let me see your hellos and how you're doing. How's everybody keeping? You know what's been like? I can't believe today's Tuesday. This feels like a really long week. It's only the second day of the week. The madness of it all. Listen, we're going to be touching on a number of highlights of the week, and we're going to have Butch Ware join us in about 30 minutes as our guest for today. And you know, he is the Green Party candidate for the governor of California. So this is going to be a great conversation, especially to know where our U.S. brothers and sisters are at. And he is such a great conversationalist, honestly. So listen, let us start as we need to go. Oluwagbe, good evening to you. How are we doing? How are we doing? People, drop your hellos. Don't just be viewing. I mean, what are you doing? All right, listen, let's start with this, right? Now, I don't know how many of you were aware that Robert Mueller died. Do you remember Robert Mueller? I think he was the one who kind of like headed and led the whole Russia. I know Trump calls it Russian hoax thing, but the whole allegation around Donald Trump and his relationship with Russia, all that. Now, Robert Mueller died. I think he was 80 something, and this is the post the president of the United States of America put out. He said, Robert Mueller just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. President Donald J. Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, you know something? Let me tell you something. As much as I criticize Donald Trump and I cannot stand his guts, I have to say that he is a trendsetter in paving the way for how people should treat him when he passes away. Because honestly, people, just copy and paste this. Literally swap Robert Mueller's name for Donald J. Trump at the top when Donald Trump passes away. Because this post right here is perfect as your response to when you hear, oh, Trump is gone. All right, so Trump just died. Good. I'm glad he's dead. He can no longer hurt innocent people. Regards the world. Because this is crazy. How does the president of the United States of America stoop so low to write something so disingenuous and quite frankly wrong? Because Robert Mueller did not hurt innocent people. He was doing his job. He was doing his job in investigating the corruption, allegations of corruption, yada, 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 of Donald Trump, of which we know are many. Come on. So this to me is just bottom barrel. But don't say I did not let you know that you should be able to, use this as your copy and paste format when you hear that Trump has gone to join, whoever it is that sent him here. Listen, a couple of things have happened, right? One of them I want to pull up right now. This is to do with the U.S.-Israel war on Iran, okay? Have you all seen how Donald Trump has been boasting the last week? In the past, 1 or 2 weeks, he's gone on and on how much they've won the war, how they don't need anybody else in this war. In fact, I needed to check this out. He said he doesn't need anyone in the war, that they've won the war. Then he complained that Iran was pretty much, what Iran was doing in responding to the war is unfair. And he sends out this post that he's pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations. Ladies and gentlemen, you want to know where fake news comes from? It's from Donald Trump. Because here he is lying. Why would you want to talk about productive conversations? Listen to this. Let me add this so that you can hear what exactly is going on.
Have not changed. The Iranian demands right the way from the start of this were we want the closure of...
Let me start
the
this again.
Iranian demands have not changed. The Iranian demands right the way from the start of this were we want the closure of all US bases in the region before we reopen the Strait of Hormuz. We want $2 million for every US and allied ship which is going to cross the Strait of Hormuz, or else we're not going to let them through. And then the other one is we want $100 billion worth of reparations to be paid by Israel and by the United States for all the damage they've inflicted on Iran. Well,
oh my goodness. So does that sound remotely like good productive discussions? No, I think Donald Trump is backpedaling. What do you guys think? I think he is literally backpedaling. I think Donald Trump, the president of the United States, started a whole war he cannot finish. I think without a doubt in my mind that how do you describe this, right? Donald Trump thought in the arrogance of their ignorance, they could waltz into a war with Iran, and Iran would just, just roll over and die and beg the United States and Israel, please don't kill us. And that is not what is happening. They clearly underestimated the people of Iran. This is not just the Iranian government. I think the people of Iran, did they do any intelligence on Persia, on the Persians? I don't think they did, because they really thought that the Iranians would just roll over. I mean, remember what's his name? Pete Dog's Breath, how he was boasting about we will rain bombs on them day and night. And these IRGC, these Iranian people, just have to look at it. Okay, you've been raining on them, and now you're begging them to have talks with you? That makes absolutely no sense to me. None whatsoever. But that is where we are. And quite frankly, he is making America look like a he looks like a failure. He looks like he's lost. And he's totally undermined whatever military power or even whatever moral authority America ever had. It's just shocking to see. Oh, Saida Bello, I agree with you. Saida says, liar, liar, pants on fire. In fact, Pamela says he inverted the term fake news. You're absolutely right. He's a walking, talking corpse of fake news. Every single time he opens his good for nothing mouth, it's all fake news. No doubt in my mind about that. It's incredulous to me. It's absolutely incredulous to me. Let's see. Ooh, they thought it was still the early 2000s where counties aren't prepared committee. As a girl, I cannot deny that what you're saying makes absolute good sense, because what in the actual hell? It's how do you go and murder thousands of people? Lebanon, Iran, destroy so much of their infrastructure and think they will enter into productive conversations with you? It's so insulting. Because if you wanted productive discussions with them, you already had that with them before you started to bomb them. So why go ahead to bomb them and then tell them to come to the freaking table? Oh, honestly, it's to me, it's ridiculous. This is not how a good leader, performs. This is not what leadership looks like. And America is not looking and has never looked like good leadership under Donald Trump. Let us be honest. And this is just comedy. I mean, when I say comedy, it's not even comedy, haha, because innocent lives have been taken, because lives have been turned upside down. And so many people in Lebanon, for instance, have been displaced. So it's not even comedy, haha, but it's definitely comedy at America. It's people who should now poke their fingers at America and say, look at what you look like. With all of that power you have, you're coming out here acting with egg on your face. It's just ridiculous. Oh, yeah. Well, Ziegel says, second coming of Trump is a disaster. He needs to go back to God before he brings ruin upon himself and America. I don't know what you mean by go back to God, but we'll see. Only God is in control. It has nothing to do with us. I just pray to God that at the end of the day, please, that more lives will not be lost. More of what we cherish and our shared humanity will not be lost. That people who consider themselves real leaders will rise up and speak out against this, what is absolute gross injustice and inhumanity that Israel and America are meting out. And everybody's suffering from it. Everybody is suffering for it. And the only reason I suspect that Donald Trump is backpedaling, let's be honest, is because of the economic crisis he has caused with the Strait of Hormuz. I think that is the only reason. He must be getting so much backlash from his financiers and his sponsors and all those who make all that kind of money. I very much suspect that's the case. So, we'll see how this plays out. Now, there's something I wanted to talk to you guys about, okay? I don't know if you heard about the Ozoro Festival in Delta State in Nigeria. If some of you don't know about the where Delta State is, so Delta State is pretty much in South Nigeria. It's in southern Nigeria, okay? And apparently annually, they have this festival called the Ozoro Festival. And in this Ozoro Festival, young women, if I forget young women and girls are told not to come out between a certain time and a certain time. So say between 12 p.m. and midnight, or else they will be, not they can be, they will be raped, sexually molested, sexually assaulted by men. You don't believe me? I swear when I heard about this, I nearly lost my mind because I was like, what the actual hell? This is a message that someone tried to put out saying, oh, okay. So this is a warning. I don't know if you guys can read it. I know I've got my glasses on, but hey, some of us are getting old. But literally, this is I think it's like a WhatsApp message, and this WhatsApp message is warning girls, especially students, saying they must not come out between 12 noon and nighttime, or else they will get raped. I thought of putting up some of the videos, but you know what YouTube can be like. But here I have this lady who is explaining some of what's going on. So let's see if
of a teen in Ozoro is something that is actually normal in Delta State. Yes, mostly in Ughelli, I will talk about it. Around September time, any girl you see on the road, you grape. Law no go do you anything. Law will not hold you. Nothing will hold you. You can grape anybody. You can even grape someone's wife in Ughelli self that day. Law will not do anything to you. They feel like that day is just for graping women. Any girl you see on the road, you can just grape. You can just sexually assault that girl. I will say the corner. If you do anything to that girl, nobody go do you anything.
I mean, when I came across this story, my flabber was seriously, I was so angry. My blood was boiling because how in the year of our Lord 2026, how is this happening? How? It beggars belief. I swear to God, it beggars belief. And you know what? Now the politicians, the Delta State politicians, they're coming out saying, condemning this, saying, oh, the police has now arrested some of the people they call suspects. My question is this. So you are condemning it in 2026. What happened in 2025 and 2024 and every other year before this? How did you not put an end to this evil? Where were the men on that day to stop these other men? Where are the matriarchs, and where have the matriarchs been to put an end to this thing and make it illegal, like outright illegal? And you know what really pissed me off? Let me tell you what really, really pissed me the heck off is the fact that this Ozoro Festival of sexually molesting women was being presented as tradition. Tradition. How is this tradition? This is a culture. They're actually saying, oh, it is not cultural tradition. This is organized sexual violence. It is organized crime. It is organized rape being presented as tradition. No, that just pissed me the hell off. Look, I'm Nigerian. I'm from the western part. I'm Yoruba, right? And there is no ethnicity that I'm aware of in Nigeria. Nigeria has well over 250 ethnicities that has a cultural tradition that says it's okay to go and rape women. That it's a lie. These men and the men at the top who are allowing it, the leaders of the community who are allowing it, were doing it for their own sick, sexual perversion. It has nothing to do with culture. It has nothing to do with tradition. And the update is that apparently they have arrested some suspects. I'm like, what do you mean? What do you mean you have arrested some suspects? This makes no sense to me because the videos I saw, and you guys can find some of these videos on Facebook or X or even Instagram. It was like so many men. They should arrest every single one of this man, every single one of them. Lock them up. Because what do you? It's not like they don't have sense. And if you saw the way the women were crying, screaming, trying to get away from this man, some of the men pulled a girl off a motorcycle bike, pulled her off to go and molest her. Another one, they were trying to rip her clothes off. Oh, even talking about it is making my blood boil. Hopefully, by God's grace, this will never happen again, and all those who organized, participated in it will be locked up. Because this is the kind of thing that I'm saying that as a local community, as a national community, as a global community, we all have to speak out against. I don't care where it is, whether it's in Nigeria, whether it's on the continent of Africa, whether it's in Europe, anywhere in the world, we must speak out against this, because this isn't a matter of time. You know how to use that useless argument about, certain things were acceptable in that time. Rape was never acceptable. It's those in power that made it happen, and other people were complicit by their silence. So we should never, ever be silent at all, because it's just unacceptable as far as I'm concerned. Totally. Yes, Pamela says, Delta State, Nigeria, men with no moral fiber. I mean, that is what I'm seeing right now, because that's just hilarious. It's incredible to me. Abubakar Shehu says the festival is so barbaric. Exactly. We need to learn, unlearn, and relearn. I can't believe that it was still allowed to carry on. I cannot for the life of me believe that. My boy HK says, you mean no police officer in Ozoro? Let me call my guys in Ozoro and confirm. Yeah, go call them, because all the things I'm talking about are what have been available online, and officials in Delta State, like the Delta State, government, that it's state government that I put up, they have spoken about it too. So this actually happened. It's beyond ridiculous. It's so upsetting. It just makes no sense to me. All right, guys, let me move you on to one of the highlights that's happening right now in the United Kingdom. I don't know if you guys were aware. Let me show you.
Nein, keinen nicht du, no. So the keinen nicht du, kriegst du Flagge, du, vier ambulances.
So let me first of all start. Let me put that back up. So 4MT, Butch, I can see Butch.
Whoa, yeah. I didn't know that you were just going to pull me in right like that while you were talking about the ambulances.
You just came up. I was like, okay, Butch, you're here.
Well, I mean, I've been listening attentively, but I was just waiting my turn backstage.
Oh my God. You listen, you pulled up, you're here. So we will start our conversation. Everyone say hello to Butch Ware. Say hello to our brother from another mother. Come on, show him some love. And make sure you have
to the people, y'all.
Any questions, pop it in so that Butch right here will help answer the questions. Okay. We're gonna have a good listen. If you've not known of Butch Ware before, if you've not heard of him before, in fact, I promise you and guarantee that by the time we have this conversation, you'll be like, where's the like button? Where's the follow button? Because let me not lie to you, Butch, right?
Yeah.
The first time you came to my attention was during the elections, okay?
Yep.
And Dr. Jill Stein had announced you as her
running mate.
Yeah, running mate, exactly. And I was like, Butch Ware, okay. I don't know what that is. Let's see how it goes. You know how you just mentioned it. And then, I saw this of you. Hold on, let me just play it. Hold on.
In another venue
where
it will matter this much. As a historian of like anti-slavery resistance movements in West Africa and the diaspora, as a historian of the Black resistance tradition in continental as well as diasporic Africa, I am personally offended by the way that Blackness is being weaponized in this electoral cycle in order to justify white supremacist genocide in Gaza. Malcolm said of Zionism, of the Zionist state, the Israeli state, he said that this is a white Jewish population, the Ashkenazi population, being given power by white imperialists to remove brown Arabs from their land. He said, so therefore Zionism is white supremacy. In 1979, Open Letter to the Born Again, James Baldwin said the same thing. He said the state of Israel was not created for the salvation of the Jews, it was created for the salvation of Western interests, okay? So
let me just pause right there.
Come on.
People, Can you see what I'm saying about Butch? Are you feeling what I am feeling? Because as he was speaking, my finger was looking for the follow button. This was no longer who is Butch Ware. I'm like, I know Butch Ware, let's go. No, absolutely. This was just, when you spoke with such knowledge, intellect, and the way you intersect because you're an academic.
I'm in my office at UC Santa Barbara right now. Like, I got books all over these shelves, man. Yeah.
And you're just coming into electoral, politics. I mean, you were part of the whole elections last
Movement
time.
space. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the way you're able to weave that knowledge in actual, day-to-day politics and engagement, it's brilliant. I think you have a gift, Butch.
I appreciate that. And before I go in on weaving the history and politics together, I will just say, when your first video popped up on my social media feed, I was like, follow, because sis is spitting fire. And so, yeah, and I love the way that you just cut through the nonsense to get to the heart of the matter with moral clarity and political clarity. So now let's talk about the blend in the history. So Malcolm, my hero and role model, because I converted to Islam when I was 15 years old, when I read Malcolm's autobiography. I read that book cover to cover in one night, and I ran out to I didn't go to sleep. I ran out to my public school library. I checked out an English translation of the Quran, and I converted the next night after reading that book. So all of that is to say is, like, Malcolm is my teacher. I learned, from him, posthumously. And Malcolm said, of all of our fields of study, history is best qualified to reward our research. I really think that we need to study anti-colonial resistance movements. We need to understand where Malcolm was, where Kwame Ture was, where Thomas Sankara was. We need to understand where we are in the moment. And so I do try to absolutely bring that Black revolutionary tradition and the history of it into our current politics as much as possible, not just talking about it, but being about it. And that's the reason why, when I was invited to run for office, even though I had not really been planning on running for office, let me be clear about that. I saw an opportunity to infuse a different kind of revolutionary politics into, the electoral sphere. So that's what I'm trying to do.
Brilliant. And that this is exactly where I am now going to get you to answer a question with that bank of resource you have. Because let me not lie, Butch, I'm trying not to go insane. I don't know about you. Every single day, I'm literally trying not to go insane. So I want to know if you think as I do, okay? Do you think we are living in a moment of political crisis or a moment of political clarity?
So for me, it's a moment of political clarity. And the reason is that when I read those two books back to back, the Malcolm's autobiography and the Quran, there was this universal truth that connected them, which is that all empires fall. And right, the oppressors are doomed. Both this is said in different ways, through a personal narrative and through a universal one. So what we are witnessing actually is the fall of the last white supremacist empire. It was the Portuguese, the Spanish, the Dutch, the French, the British, and then the Americans took the mantle after World War II. It's been 5 centuries of white supremacist empire, and we are witnessing and helping drive the extinction burst of the last of these great white supremacist empires. So for me, it's a moment of political clarity insofar as, if you understand that all empires are doomed, then the question that you're asking is, what do we build on its ashes? So for me, this is an incredible opportunity. And Wolof, so I lived in Senegal for years. That's why I did my PhD research. I'm just a plain old African-American, from the diaspora, but I learned to speak the Wolof language fluently. And they say in the Wolof language, they say, the child of Adam does not release what their hand is holding until they're reaching for something better. And I think that there's too much focus on deconstructing the empire. The empire is going to deconstruct itself. What are we building as an alternative? And I think that those of us that have political clarity are trying to look forward towards a truly, post-imperial, African Renaissance, a post-imperial Renaissance for working class people on the ashes of capitalist imperialism, right? And so I think that this is a moment that presents tremendous opportunity for those of us that are able to read history.
I so agree with you about the political clarity, especially globally. And I think this feeds into your point about how, the Black consciousness is often being weaponized, but weaponized to try to sustain a system that is against, the Black consciousness. So you're basically saying, Butch, that there is no saving the current system. We should not be looking to reform. Forget saving, like reform or fix or say. You're saying it basically needs to be dismantled. White supremacy must be dismantled. Every form of supremacy must be dismantled.
Correct.
And then something new must rise from the ashes.
Yes. So part of what pulled me out of my books, and I'm on sabbatical now, running for governor in the state of California, but I still really like this office, so I'll be working here. But part of what pulled me out of my books is when I talked to Jill Stein, and by the way, I was not considering a political run at that time, but at 24 hours after I interviewed her for my Instagram Live, the way that you're interviewing me right now, she asked if I would consider running as the vice president. Literally, it happened overnight. But part of the reason why was that we had this incredible conversation, and this goes to the heart of your question. I asked her in that conversation, I said, what's your view for American foreign policy? And she said, my vision of American foreign policy is that we need to dismantle the American empire. And I said, yeah, and you better hurry up and do it quick before somebody do it for you. And what I meant by that was that if we divest from squandering trillions of dollars, torturing the rest of humanity, and invest those resources into education, into healthcare, into affordable housing, then this republic, where most of us couldn't vote for most of its history, right? Republic between quotes, but this republic just might survive the inevitable collapse of its empire. So for me, there is a swords to plowshares movement that we can stop wasting money, squandering money on military adventurism like you're seeing in Iran, like you're seeing in Palestine, which benefits a tiny few. And instead invest those resources, the resources of this, great bloated dying empire are still substantial if they were invested into things that provide lasting benefits, sustainable, ecological policies, education, and actual commerce. Like, I'm an anti-capitalist my whole life, but I'm a big believer in commerce. Business needs to be thriving, right? But it needs to be in the hands of working people and small businesses, not in the hands of a tiny 0.01% of billionaires.
Exactly. So would you say then, when we talk about dismantling empires, let's come to present day and the present day empire of America vis-a-vis the Zionist Jewish supremacy? Do you think, given all that we are seeing, is Zionism going to be at the heart of bringing down the American empire?
So Zionism was, Caspar Weinberger, Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Defense, he said that Israel is America's unsinkable battleship in the Middle East. He said that in 1982. So he was saying unsinkable battleship because it's landed, right? You can't sink something that's already on the ground. So all of this is to say is that the conventional relationship between the Zionist entity and the United States is that Israel has been the proxy of the United States, and it destabilizes the region in order to facilitate resource extraction, principally oil, right? But let's not forget that Iran, before the 1979 revolution, was one of only 4 places where there was a U.S. mint. They actually printed U.S. dollars in Tehran because Tehran served a similar function as a kind of outpost of American empire in the Middle East. So both the U.S. and Israel have been wanting war with Iran for a long time to get back that position that they lost. Now, the question that's on everybody's mind is the tail wagging the dog now? Is Israel the one that is calling the shots, and the U.S., is Israel saying jump and the U.S. say how high? And let me just be clear, I don't actually believe that that's the relationship. I actually still think that because America could withdraw the weapons at any point in time and Israel would vanish overnight, literally, like they wouldn't be able to defend
themselves. But they choose not to. America chooses not to.
Exactly. Wow. And because this continues to actually be part of a broader geopolitical strategy that is designed primarily for oil extraction. Let's just be clear. I'm a Green Party candidate. We believe that fossil fuels are not the future of humanity, right? Because literally 37% of the fossil fuels right now are consumed just shipping fossil fuels to other destinations. You use 40% of the resource just shipping the resource. It makes no sense. It's not sustainable. But as long as the US is invested in that old dying imperial model, they are going to be willing to spend blood and treasure to try to extract oil. And then the last part, yes, it is absolutely clear, however, that especially the right wing inside of Israel, all of Israel's right wing, but the extreme right wing inside of Israel, and especially Mossad, they absolutely do have compromise on US officials. They absolutely do in Epstein files and in other places, right? They've got compromise. So while I don't think it's a tail wagging the dog situation, because I actually think that the tail and the dog are the same animal, right? they're all one integrated whole. They can't be separated. They say in Wolof language, they say it's like coffee with milk, magabole nan, magabole tur, which means it's like coffee with milk. You either drink the whole thing or you pour the whole thing out, because you can't separate the milk out once it's mixed with the coffee. And that's the way that Israel and the US move. But even having said that, yes, there are for sure Congress people, there are for sure presidents even that are subject to manipulation by Mossad and Mossad assets.
Because they've got stuff on them. There's no doubt they must have stuff on them. It makes no sense how a politician that says one thing yesterday all of a sudden has like done a 360 and looks like Jekyll and Hyde. You're like, I don't recognize who this person is. So talking about Israel, right? I would, this war on Iran, for the life of me, if intelligence officials are themselves questioning whether or not Iran posed an imminent threat, which I don't believe it did, on the basis of, whether or not it has.
Hold on, Dr. Shola. Let me just stop you right there, because how are you going to say we were afraid because our military bases were threatened? Is like, how dare you put your country right in the middle of our military bases? So sorry, but I mean, the idea that there was a military threat is just, it's gaslighting to the highest degree. But
it is epic. It is epic gaslighting. It is such a disingenuous way to insult our intelligence, especially when Donald Trump came out moaning, saying that what Iran is doing is unfair because America already won the war. How did America ever win the war? How did you win the war? Oh, okay, fine. You've won the war. So now, why are you now begging for talks? But my question to you is, how do you think this? I don't think this war is justified under international law. So I'm thinking, and I don't think it is meaningfully different from the Iraq war in 2003. Because what we have here is with the Iraq war, it was weapons of mass destruction, which never existed.
Yep.
And now we have imminent threat of intending to have nuclear weapons. So now you're being punished for even having the thought, even though you demonstrated time and time again that you don't have them.
Yeah, so I mean, the Orwellian thought police is at an entirely different level in the age of Palantir now, aren't they? They're surveilling us at every corner, and instead of a screen on the wall, it's a screen in our hands, and they are watching us at every corner. But most importantly, now they can declare preemptive war because apparently Iran was thinking about maybe getting nuclear weapons. I mean, it's laughable on the surface of it. And that by the way, to take us back to the dying days of empire, yeah. This is a consistent pattern. One of my favorite economic historians, Richard Wolff, Marxist economic historian, talks about how this happens with all of these colonial empires. Is the world, when they start to fall, the world starts selling off their currency as the reserve currency. So it used to be that about 80% of the world's reserve currency was in dollars. Now that's under 40%. So we've been seeing this sell-off happening little by little. And what happens at that time is these dying empires then undertake further far-flung military adventurism to try to extract resources. And this only hastens the collapse in the imperial core. Wow. So for me, that is exactly what we are witnessing in this current moment.
So you don't think that this conflict let's call it what it is, war.
Yeah.
This war isn't really about nuclear weapons. It's
Not at
more
all.
about long-term control of Middle East energy and strategic geography. Is that it?
And an act of desperation of an empire that is seeing its profit margins and its extractive capacities reduced, with a clearly ascendant Chinese economy that is obviously driving global economic growth moving forward, because China does not have 800 military bases around the planet the way that the US does, right? The next highest country after the US is 800 military bases is like 30. So China has not been squandering its economic growth. And China, for the record, even though, let's just be clear, China is not a communist state, not by a long shot. China has a communist party, but it's basically a mixture of socialist and capitalist approaches. And private capital operates, in China. China has the second highest number of millionaires on the planet, but they just don't have no billionaires. So all of that is just to say, Chinese capital is moving around the globe and it's flexible, but it's not relying on military adventurism in order to facilitate resource extraction. Last point on this. Obviously, this was just pretext, right? This is the same as Iraq. It's the same as Afghanistan. It's these wars that are really designed to do something else, but they're justified by appealing to the ambient level of Islamophobia in American culture. And that is what creates the permission structure for them to wage these never-ending wars.
It's just ridiculous. And to me, what makes it more painful? It would have been comical if the only people getting hurt politically or by character are the very leaders who started it. But you can't even laugh because innocent people are dying. Hundreds of children have been killed in Lebanon and Iran. It's unacceptable. And I want to understand how anyone is going to be held accountable for this, because I would want to see systems, people who made these decisions. I want to see them held accountable. But you are running for governor of California.
Yes, indeed.
So let's talk about accountability. Yes. Talk about So let me first of all start with this. Now, during the elections, I'm sure the Green Party saw all of the discourse going back and forth with people deciding whether or not they could vote for the Green Party.
Sure.
Would you actually win? Versus the whole, lesser evil,
lesser of two evils argument. Yeah.
That just drove me mad. That lesser of two evils. Because I'm like, the lesser of two evils is still evil. Why are we still having this conversation? But
genocide is genocide, whether it comes in blue or red, obviously.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So I suppose my question is this: what do you think the Green Party has learned from this last elections? And how are you going to, do you have a concrete roadmap to 270 electoral votes and not just 5% of the popular vote?
Excellent question. And Dr. Shola, this is why I love what you do, because no one has asked me that question. But that was the first thing that I did, was to take stock of what to draw lessons from coming out of 2024. So I went into the Green Party National Steering Committee meeting probably 2 weeks after the presidential elections. And I said, this is a party that has been happy to stay on the field and not playing to win the game. I said, as soon as y'all drafted me into this at the top of this party, we are playing to win the game. The second thing is that y'all need to get serious about fundraising. Jill's campaign had raised $1 million only in the 10 months before I joined the campaign. In the 10 weeks I was on the campaign, we raised $3 million. Because it takes resources in our corrupt system. Now, granted, we only have to do it once because we can get publicly funded elections once we break through. But until then, we need to be deadly serious. And then also the Green Party needs to embrace demographic change inside the party, because it is largely a party, or it had been largely a party, of aging white environmentalists. It had the best platform for Black liberation, for protection of immigrant communities, for protection of all kinds of oppressed and marginalized folks, but it was not demographically, robust in that way. The Palestinian liberation movement essentially taking the Green Party as its vehicle, as its electoral vehicle in 2024, made this into a black and brown and Arab and queer and younger, all kind of folks who now saw in this party the vessel that would be capable of delivering real opposition, because the Green Party is the only independent party that has electoral access nationwide in the US. If you were starting a new party just to get the ballot access that we already have, it would cost you $100 million, because you would have to get petitions and signatures in 50 different states to get all. So the Green Party staying on the field has been crucial. But
hello. Okay, Butch will be joining us soon. I'm sure you can all hear. We just have it's just slightly frozen for now, but he'll be back soon. Let me hear from you guys. Let me see what your what your thoughts are so far. All right. Yes, Afua says, who has been held accountable for the enslavement of Black Africans during the transatlantic slave trade? Not a single one. I hear you. I hear you. Oluagbi says, U.S. had been civil war inside the country and continue to bomb other countries. How crazy U.S. government are. I agree. Don't worry. Butch will be joining us back pretty soon. You know how this Wi-Fi things happen sometimes. But what he's saying, what do you think about the nuggets he has dropped so far? I see somebody asked the question, Green Party. How much of you know about the U.S. Green Party? How much do you guys know about the U.S. Green Party? Because during the last elections, he's right that they definitely got pushed out there, but because of the whole movement against genocide, and people were looking for a home. They were looking for a political home, and they found that with Dr. Jill Stein and with Butch Ware. But then when it came to the elections, this is one of the things I want to talk to him about. So why that did not translate into electoral votes. So I'm sure we'll be back shortly, and I want to get your thoughts. Oriade says that sounds more like the Green Party ideology here in the UK. Also, we go green. You know what? I hear you. But there's a momentum that the UK Green Party has right now that is very different from, say, where the Green Party in the US is. So I want to have that conversation with him once he comes back in, because that would be great to discuss. So listen. Oh, I want to see another comment. Send your comments through. Oh, I'm seeing your comment. Is Green Party a new political party? No. So the US Green Party has been around for a while, but once Butch comes on, I'm going to get him to answer that question too. And he can give the whole background. But no, the US Green Party is not a new party. It's been around for quite a while, but clearly because of the two-party tier system in the US, it is not as prominent or as well known as, say, the Democrats or the Republican, right? So that would be good to know. That would be good to know. We'll have a conversation with him. Let's see. I think nothing will get done. The problem is internal. New people cannot just walk in and make changes. Everyone can talk. I like you both, by the way, not to troll. We have to have faith, people. We can't believe that nothing will happen because somebody's new. I mean, you have to believe that sometimes maybe it's fresh blood, maybe it's a fresh face, and it's somebody who is ready to do the needful that can make a real difference. You know what I mean? So, I mean, look at how much we all like Zora Mamdani. He's fresh. He's new. Let's see. Hey, Butch.
so sorry. Apparently my laptop was not plugged in, so it just died on me. So I had to log back
No,
in. I had to log back in from my phone. So apologies for not having things
no,
together on this end.
don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. I mean, we've had a couple of questions. Somebody asked,
Please.
is the Green Party a new party in the US? I said no. What do you say?
No, Green Party was established in the 1980s in the U.S. Ralph Nader ran very strong in the late 90s and 2000. Dr. Jill Stein ran very strong in 2016. What I'm trying to do in the side of the state of California is to really bring a new kind of vision to the Green Party. I told them, listen, when I told you Dr. Jill invited me 24 hours after we met on live stream to consider running as the VP, and I said, I'm going to pray about it. I'm going to talk to my teachers in West Africa. I'm going to talk to my family members here. I said, but in the meantime, y'all need to run tape on me. because because I'm not going to stop spitting it the way that I do. You're bringing a whole Black Muslim revolutionary into your party, and that is going to have implications on what your party becomes.
Yeah.
And they said we know, that's why we're asking. I said good. I said because if you're going to have me because Dr. Jill Stein is 75 years old, she's not running in another national election. So that means that for all intents and purposes, I'm the most visible public face of this party. And if that's the case, then this is going to be the red, black, and green party, right? I mean, like this is going to be the party that brings African liberation to the center and
Right.
really centers it in collective liberation where it has always been, right? Because our people, when we have been struggling to get free, that was a freedom struggle that benefited everyone. And that's what I'm trying to do. That's why I center Malcolm and Assata Shakur and the Panthers and others. And it looks like my computer came back on. So I'm going to try to do this back from my computer now. So pardon me as I hang up the phone. Okay.
No
One second.
worries, no
Okay.
worries.
Thanks.
You all know what technology can be. It can be like. It's interesting. I get my kids have to help me from time to time because sometimes I'm literally going on say I don't understand what is the button for this, and they go, "Mommy, calm down." Great, 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 great to have you back. So let's get back to the Green Party and
Yes.
your trajectory to 270 electoral votes because
Yes.
I want to get your thinking here. Do you
Yeah.
think America really wants a third party? Or do you think
Yes.
they want to change the existing party?
So, what Americans want, the general populace, is very much a third party. And this is clear, by the way, from the polling. So, 63% of American voters, when polled, say that the two parties do such a, quote, poor job that we need an independent third party. And that number is even 53% when it's just registered Democrats. It's 48% when it's just registered Republicans. So, both people that are in both those camps know that they're trash, right? And then on top of that, politically, polling indicates that 50% of American voters, technically 48 to be exact, identify as independents, and only 25% identify with Team Blue genocide or Team Red fascism. Right? And so half the populace thinks of themselves as independent. The problem is that the mainstream media is controlled by the same corporations that promote those two parties. So they're constantly driving a narrative that America is split between blue states and red states, blue counties and red counties. And my argument is always this. That is just sheer nonsense, because if you made a Venn diagram of the donor base of those two parties, it's one circle. The same weapons manufacturers, the same AIPAC, Israel lobby is right in the middle. Julius Nyerere, the great African revolutionary, said it best. He said, of course, the United States is a single party state, but with classic American extravagance, they have two of them. So what Americans are feeling, I know, bars, right? So what Americans are feeling is that neither of these two corporate capitalist parties represents them. And so they are looking for a third party, but they're constantly propagandized into thinking that if they support a third party, they're somehow wasting their vote. The good news, and this is part of the strategy of how we get to 270 in 28 or in 32 down the road, presidential elections, is that the governor's race in the state of California makes it very, very hard for them to make those lesser of two evils arguments. And if we are able to turn the third largest economy in the planet, right? Because it's China, Germany, California. That's the list of the largest economies on the planet. If the U.S. were 50 independent republics, the economic strength would be China, Germany, California. So if we are able to be successful in this current run, then that's going to change the political map, and it's going to light the road to big electoral success, to actual three-party system, not two. And how do I know? Y'all showed the way, right? Because one by-election, the equivalent of a congressional election for us, and Greens leapfrog Labor in national approval polls. And that's the reason why right now they are suing to try to get me off the ballot in the state of California, because the Democrats are, of course, because they are so scared of what will happen, because they know that we win this one election and it is curtains for their whole little scam, their whole little system. Because the reality is most people, see right through this fake culture war that the conservatives and liberals wage against each other. It's not about the so-called left or the so-called right. It's about the 1% against the rest of us. And if you've got a party that represents the rest of us, they're gonna win all the time. And that's what they're
I hear you. But if with all you just said now, right?
Yeah.
How do you convince voters that a green vote is not just expressive but instrumental? Because you see, what happened here in the United Kingdom is that people finally woke up.
Yep.
They actually finally made the decision.
Yep.
I am not going to fall into this two-party nonsense system or this whole thing, or let's have some systemic way, strategic way of voting, to make sure one party does not get in, because you're still playing both parties. You're still stuck. And I think from my own perspective, I voted for the UK Green Party last time. And people said, you're mad. You're not going to win. I said, no, you're missing the point. I take my votes as seriously as I take my virginity. I don't give it to no one anyhow. So no, I will give my vote where it counts. That is what matters to me. And I think that right now the UK Green Party has a momentum and has a leader that people really resonate with. So for you in the US, especially now, as you said, you are going to be tackling the third largest economy in the world, right? How are you going to convince voters that a green vote is not just expressive, but instrumental?
Excellent question. Your questions are fantastic. So first, just real quick in passing, I actually canceled a trip to the UK. I was supposed to be out there now, and I was going to try to do this in person. And I was going to be meeting with Zach Polanski, but I had to stay because they're trying to sue me off the ballot. So I was in Sacramento in court and fighting for that. And that takes us to the heart of this, is that it's already happening, and they know that it's happening, and that's why they're trying to knock me off the ballot. So just for context, right? Zoom out and look at the case of Zoran Mamdani in the mayoral election in New York City. So in mid-March, Mamdani, which is where we are now, Mamdani had a primary in June, and we're now in mid-March before his primary. He was polling at 2%, and he had to get to 50% in a Democrat primary. I'm polling at 5% right now, which doesn't sound like a lot, except I'm not in a Democrat primary. It's an open primary. All the parties against everyone, and only the top two candidates emerge. And because it's a divided field, the leaders are only at 13, 14%. I'm within single digits of the lead right now, despite the fact that they've got all of their blood money and are outspending us 30-1. We're still beating lots of the Democrat and Republican candidates. So they want me out of the way because they know that I can win now. So I don't have to get to 50%. Finishing in the top two in that jungle primary, as they call it, is going to take between 15 and 18% of the vote to finish second, and probably 21 to 22% of the vote to finish first. For context, that's about 1.5 million votes, and I bury the competition in the primary. There are 1 million Muslims just in California, and the Muslim population voted 53% for the Green Party in the 2024 election. We're expecting a full 70% of the Muslim voters in California to vote for the only anti-Zionist on the ballot and the only Muslim on the ballot. And so just by hiving off a small group of young voters, African-American voters, Latino voters, and getting working class gringos, as I like to call them, engaged, working class white folks engaged, not only can we win, but we can win running away in the primary. And in the same way that completely rewrote the political map in New York City's mayoral election, if we finish just in the top two on the primary on June 2nd, 2026, that creates a matchup that the Democrats cannot survive, because it creates a one-on-one matchup between me and a corporate Democrat. And they can't hide me from the mainstream media. They can't fearmonger saying you're going to turn the state red, because the Republicans will be out of the race at that time. It'll just be blue versus green. And where do you think all of those Republican voters are going to go when they hear me banging on Gavin Newsom and the Democrat establishment? Because I do not believe that all Trump voters are racist any more than I believe white liberals are racist. To me, Malcolm said it. Malcolm said the liberal is a fox. It bares its teeth. You think that it's smiling at you, but you're on the menu. The conservative is a wolf. It bares its teeth. It's into a vicious snarl that leaves the black man with no illusion as to where he stands. I do not see either party as having a monopoly on white supremacy. They're both white supremacist, capitalist, imperialist parties as far as I'm concerned. So I don't do their culture war thing because I don't care who you pray with or who you lay with. Your rights are sacred regardless. So because I don't play their game, I appeal to a lot of independents, and I even appeal to a lot of Republicans, not the dyed-in-the-wool KKK types, but a lot of folks who vote Republican because they don't see a difference between blue criminals and red criminals, and all other things being equal, would rather pay lower taxes. And I'm going to say, I'm not going to rubber stamp the corruption of the Democrat establishment. We're cleaning all of that corruption out. We cleaning the state house out, and no more corporate, lobbyists. And that is a message that they're afraid of. So if you want a new politics, then look, you can, if you're in the US, you can contribute financially to our campaign. If you're abroad, you can contribute by amplifying us on social media. You can volunteer even from abroad for the campaign. So there's a lot that you can do because what will really happen is if we get a genuine anti-imperialist in the executive branch in California, then that's the end of American empire, right? You do understand that.
It definitely sounds like a step in the right direction. I was going to say that I don't think you are going to, when you mentioned, Muslims or, the people that you would expect to naturally vote for you, be them, black people, white and brown people who share the same ideals,
the same politics,
exactly the same politics, and the same humanity.
Yes.
So my question to you was going to be, how do you then identify or resonate with those who don't necessarily agree with you, but maybe there's something about you, some policy you have that they go, you know what, I'm Republican, but I think I'm going to vote for him, or I'm Democrat, and I've traditionally, how people go, I've always voted Democrat, I've always voted Labor, like their soul is, sold to it. So how do you speak to them? How do you reach them? Because it's not like you're going to solely rely on, how do they call it, identity politics?
No, and quite the opposite. So on the bottom of our website, the main page, butchwareforgov.com, it says solidarity beyond identity or ideology. Because that's what it's going to take the power back from the billionaires and the corporations. It's going to take solidarity that goes beyond identity or ideology. So I don't expect everybody to agree with every element of my politics. I expect them to respond to the fact that I'm not owned by any corporate interest, and whether you agree with me or disagree with me, you know that it's me talking. One.
Right.
And two, you know that I'm not going to substitute my will for the will of the people, because I'm a public servant and an elected official, not somebody who is trying to promote an ideological agenda or to get to serve particular narrow identity-based groups. What I was taught in the Green Party, my early political mentor was an indigenous woman, Native American woman, Annie Young. Her son was my best friend, Sean Young. We grew up together, and she was the first ever Green Party elected official in the state of Minnesota, where I went to high school. And she said, in the Green Party, there are no politicians, only public servants.
Okay.
And that never left me, because that really is the job of an elected official. It's to serve the public, not to play politics. So you're supposed to provide moral leadership. You're supposed to speak the truth. You're supposed to provide clarity. But in the end, the people elect you, and it's your job to serve the interests of the people.
Okay. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Talking about you as a leader, let's talk about self-accountability, self-assessment, speaking self-truth in your leadership, as a politician.
Yes.
What compromises, right, have you had to make? And what would you say are the ones that are non-negotiable?
So I have never compromised on anything, and I never will compromise on a single principle, not at any point in time. What I believe is that you move strategically and you move tactically, and you have to compromise in order to reach agreements on policy. You may have to compromise in order to get a budget passed, but you never compromise on what you stand for. And I haven't had to do that. When I was asked to run, my wife said, she said something very funny. She said, "You're going to be good at it." She said, "Because you're the anti-Trump. You don't care. You just speak the truth no matter what, and you let the chips fall where they may." And you're the opposite. He's stupid and you're smart. He's uneducated, you're educated. He's immoral and you pray all the time, right? Like that. But it's true. In a certain level, I think people respond to my authenticity, my integrity, the fact that I don't compromise. And I'll tell you how I actually feel. I will not play the numbers game with you. I'm not gonna speak to opinion polling and change my position, like the weather. I'm going to show up as me, and I'm going to speak the truth. And people have responded to that because the things that we're running on are things that everybody wants. We don't have universal single payer healthcare. Everybody wants it. It's an 80-20 issue. We don't have affordable housing in the state of California, 70-30, 80-20, issues. All of the things that we're running on are not left and right issues. They're right down the middle for the voting population. They're things that everybody wants. So while you might disagree with me on this or disagree on, and I get that all the time, by the way, they're like, I don't agree with everything that guy says, but I'm voting for him because I know that it's him talking, and I know that he's running on the policies that are for all of the people, not just for specific groups.
So I hear you. I hear you about
push back. Come on, push back.
I hear you about, speaking truth to power and standing in your truth. And I'm the kind of person that I never put people on a pedestal. I love to appreciate people.
Nor should you.
Hold them in space, in that space, pray for them. But the reality here, Butch, the reality is I would love for you to win if I want you to win, no doubt.
Yeah.
But I know that with power comes more responsibility.
Sure.
And with more responsibility comes real pushback. I mean, the kind of pushback sometimes you've not even begun to think about. Let's be honest, because the reality is you and I see a lot of what the hell is going on here. Yeah. But you're going to be privy, once you become governor of California State, you're going to be privy to things that you can't even talk to us, the public, about because, oh my God, what the hell? So I suspect that your answer to me to this question would be, how would you address those challenges? I already hear you say, I will pray. I will center myself in prayer. I'll center myself the way I've always centered myself in everything I've done. Like the examples you gave about when you were asked to take leadership and you spoke to your mentors, you spoke to your family. Okay. But like when a woman gives birth, when we have to push that child out, and we have all the midwives, we have all the doctors. I have my husband that go, oh, what?
But nobody will push it for you.
Thank you. The only person that can push that human being out is me. So when it comes down to it and you face one of the most difficult, compromising challenges that you may yet face in your leadership, what will you do, Dr. Butch Ware?
So there's two parts to this question. The first part is understanding what my motivations are in doing this in the first place. So one of my teachers, when I asked about this is one of my spiritual mentors in West Africa. He's a great-grandson of Sheikh Ahmadou Bamba, the great Senegalese, scholar and resistance leader. He said to me, it's not for an elder to leave a staff lying in a public square where anyone might come along and pick it up and use it to strike the people. Better to pick it up yourself for safekeeping and to safeguard the people against the hands of those who would strike. What he was saying, this was a metaphor for power, and he said that even though even though you don't want it, it's better for you to pick up this staff to keep someone who would use it irresponsibly from taking it. And another one of my teachers, he said the best person to hold khilafah, stewardship, because in Islamic conception, we don't believe that you have authority or power. We believe that you have stewardship, which means you're responsible and accountable for how you are the steward of the people, the planet, the peace, the public resources. So he said the person who is best qualified to have stewardship is a person of knowledge who does not want power or authority. I never sought elected office in my life. And Dr. Shola, with God as our witness between the two of us, I could personally care less about winning elections. I love my books. I love my wife, my special needs son. I have a great job that pays me great to do what I love. And I've done it my whole life and still been an activist and an organizer and a community educator in all of these spaces because that's who I am. I don't need politics. If I win the governor's race and get the people universal health care and housing and all those other things, and it makes me the most unpopular person in the state of California so that I can never run for office again, I will be the happiest man out there because I don't want this for myself. It's something that I'm doing because I was called into a fight, and I don't leave a fight until the other guy goes down. Last part on this. These people don't have anything that I want more than our liberation. So they don't have anything that they can offer me. They don't have anything that they can bribe me with. I've never wanted anything except for liberation for our people. And through the teachings of Malcolm and Assata Shakur and the Panthers and others, I came to understand that our people's liberation was impossible without the collective liberation of humanity as a whole from capitalism and imperialism and white supremacy. So I only want that. And in the Islamic tradition, they tried to get the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, off of his mission early. They tried to buy him out. They offered him 99 wives. They offered him whatever chieftaincy that he wanted and mountains of gold. And here's what he said to them. He said, if you were to put the sun in my right hand and the moon in my left, I would not desist.
Ooh, okay.
And that's what I say. These people don't have anything that they can offer me that would cause me to betray our ancestors. They don't have anything that they could offer me that would cause me to betray the Black liberation tradition, because I want, in a life after this one, I want to sit with Harriet Tubman, and I want to sit with Malcolm, and I want to sit with Ahmadou Bamba, and I want to be welcome in that company and in that gathering. And so if that means that I got to step up and fight the fight in my time the way that they fought the fight in their time, so be it. I ain't never been scared of a fight.
Dr. Butch Ware, do you know what that makes you? That makes you a very dangerous man. And we love to see it. We love to see it. If your presence is going to make those supremacists run, we will be right here. We will be ready to go your back, because it's exactly the kind of thinking. And I think, the kind of lifestyle you need to hold you strong. And I pray the Lord God give you grace and give you the strength, because we know that with power and as people rise, all kinds of challenges, they come across all kinds of challenges.
And I'll say this, to you, my revolutionary sister, and I say this to everyone: hold me accountable, right? I'm an abolitionist. I don't believe in prisons, and I don't believe in the carceral state. I believe in accountability, and accountability, it comes in community. So if you see me acting funny or moving funny or talking funny, check my Black ass, and I mean that. I mean that.
I will. I'll be like, Butch, wait a second. What are you doing? Let us have
because if you hear me, moving in ways that betrays Fred Hampton, if you hear me moving in ways that betray James Baldwin or Toni Morrison, then tell me. Because I welcome accountability, especially from people that I know that their commitment is to our liberation. And the thing is that I am 100% guaranteed to make mistakes along the way. 100% guaranteed to make mistakes along the way. So I need my people saying, I wouldn't have done this that way. You might have wanted to think about this, right? Before you do that.
Yes.
And what I've always said is, I've got a PhD. I've taught at the top research universities in America. I've run international grants, multi-million dollars across 4 continents. And my dad was a locksmith that had a 6th grade education. I grew up in abject poverty. If I ever start acting chesty out there like I'm somebody that's important, then knock me down a peg. But most importantly, if I ever stop learning, put me in the ground. Put me
Mm,
in the ground, because it means that I've lost any value or worth, because
mm,
I believe that I'm supposed to be getting better at this every day. I'm supposed to I'm supposed to be becoming more informed, more capable. And yeah, you're going to have setbacks, you're going to have mistakes, but the point is that I want to constantly be learning and growing and getting better, because the challenges that are coming tomorrow are unprecedented. If you just stick with yesterday's solutions, you are not going to be ready. So that means you need to be not just a student of the past, but a student of the moment.
yes. Oh, you said it all. But I have one more question for you. I have one more question for you. And this is going to be around climate and the
Yeah,
hidden costs of this war, right? Because we've
yeah.
talked about it. We talked about elections, we talked about the history, all of that. But say from one of the Green Party perspective, right, of the environment and how important that is,
Yeah.
I would say that if this war on Iran has already emitted millions of tons of carbon dioxide in weeks, should environmental destruction be treated as a war crime?
100%. And there's a great documentary by Abby Martin called Earth's Greatest Enemy that actually shows that the US military, just by itself, with all of the aggregate environmental damage, for the production of its weapons and the deployment of them, is something like the fifth largest polluter on the planet, just by
Mm,
itself. So there's no question about it. And I learned two really crucial things. One, she said in that documentary, she said, the United States military has always been a protection force for resource extraction. And I was like, dang, like that, you can't say it no better than that. Like, that's exactly,
yep,
because that
yep,
explains both the settler colony inside the continental US and the foreign policy abroad, right? They're just a protection force for resource extraction. But then she also made the case that protection force is destroying the planet. And so this is why it's so crucial, as US Greens, as UK Greens, as Greens across the board, that we draw that connection, because these people are going to end humanity either through environmental catastrophe or nuclear holocaust, or perhaps both, unless and until we mount a genuine opposition. That's the opposition that I'm leading. I can't wait to come over and meet y'all in person, meet Zach
yep,
Polanski in person, because this is going to take, yes, effort at the heart of the most dangerous empire on the planet, in the current
yep,
moment, but it's going to
yep.
take a joint effort from all freedom-minded people that want the only planet that we have to actually be inhabitable, right?
I agree. Every single word you just said, absolutely agree. Oh my goodness. I'm seeing so many comments coming through, people loving everything you're saying. Afro says inspirational. So says PM. I think they're calling you Prime Minister, but I think they mean I think
Everybody already has me running for president, but I'm gonna be too busy in 28. I'm gonna be too busy being the governor of California, just so y'all know.
right. Someone did ask though. Let's see. Afro asked this question. When you said you read Malcolm,
Malcolm,
and when you
yeah,
read the Quran. So she's asking Malcolm before Mecca or after Mecca. I'm not really sure what the question
yeah,
means.
I can tell you what it means. So my answer to the question first is both. I embrace the whole of Malcolm's journey, but Malcolm after Mecca was a universalist who was free of the racialist ideology of the Nation of
Mm,
Islam. And what
mm,
I wanted was what Malcolm had when he came back from that pilgrimage. That's why I didn't go and run out to check out Message to the Black Man by Honorable Elijah Muhammad. I went to check out the Quran, and I read that cover to cover the next night, because what Malcolm, and actually Martin Luther King also, who was actually a revolutionary, he's not the figure that they make him out to be, what they both had is what this time needs, which
yeah.
is that it's not just about organizing for political power, it's not just about awakening the masses. You actually have to have a transcendent narrative that touches people's spirit,
Mm,
that offers the possibility for redemption, both for the oppressor and for the oppressed.
Yes.
You have to give the oppressor an off-ramp out of these systems, because these systems are destroying them too. And the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he said, help your brother whether he is oppressed or oppressor. And they said to him, how do we help an oppressor? And what they were really asking is, why the hell would we help an oppressor? Right? But they asked how, so he answered, and he said, stop him from oppressing.
Oh, okay. So
Right?
doing exactly what we are doing.
Doing exactly what we're doing, because the thing is that our oppressors do not know how good the world is going to be on the other side of capitalist exploitation, on the other side of white supremacy, on the other side of extractive imperialism. We have everything that we need now for not just meeting people's basic needs, but for prosperity for every living human being. We don't need these borders. We don't need these weapons. We don't need these walls. We have all of the resources to provide dignity and abundance for every last one of the children of Adam and Eve. But these systems are keeping us from having what we need. And it is about time humanity graduate from this adolescent stage of development and move on to maturity and adulthood as a species. We can do better than capitalism, imperialism, and supremacy.
Oh, listen, Kamal here is saying what I'm hearing is so good, it's almost unreal. Pamela says, he says, Butch, he sounds like a breath of fresh air. I'm hearing, oh, this is Maggie saying, Dr. Butch Ware, inspirational mindset. Okay, now. All right. It looks like those who may not have known you before and some who have are just going, yes, please, we would like some of that. Exactly where we need to be. And I think that for us in the UK, that is also what Zach Polanski represents. And he's spitting facts, and he's helping to bring together people from different backgrounds. Doesn't matter if you were conventionally labor or conservative. People are like, no, actually, I'm tired of that. This is what I need. I need someone who's going to break down those barriers. So I'm rooting for you guys. I think one of the challenges, not that the challenge cannot be overcome, but one of the challenges is getting people to get out of this mindset of, I can only go with Democrats or Republican. Because if I go with Green Party, they don't have enough congressional seats. They don't have enough this, enough that. So I suppose that's going to be part of your roadmap to
of
try
course.
and get.
And we've got, so Brian McGinnis running for Senate in North Carolina. He's the man whose arm was just broken by a sitting senator because he went into an assembly and said, we're not going to war for Israel, right? The news covered that. Yeah, he's a Green Party candidate for Senate. They don't want to tell you that. We got Greg Stoker, another white boy, anti-imperialist veteran, running for Congress in Texas, which brings us to the point, right? Zach Polanski, a gay Jew, and Butch Ware, a black Muslim, on the same damn team. Me on the same team with Dr. Jill Stein, an anti-Zionist Jewish woman, with a couple of former Marines who have all seen the light. This is not about identity. It's about humanity. It's about basic dignity for everybody, because human rights are for human beings, period, full stop.
Thank you. I cannot agree more. Absolutely. And I think that is where the narrative needs to go. And that narrative can overcome and transcend all of these divisionary lines.
100%.
Butch, I need to have you back.
Anytime.
love
We're going to try to reschedule. We're going to try to reschedule our UK trip so that I can have that sit down with Zach Polanski, and I'm going to come through and we'll sit down and have this conversation in person.
Absolutely. Oh, thank you so much, everyone. Butch is about to leave. Dr. Butch Ware, to all of you, and our dear friend and our brother Butch. So everyone say thank you and goodbye, and see you soon. And the best of luck.
Follow me on all platforms at Butch Ware, and go to butchwareforgov.com because there's all kind of ways that you can help spread the message, even if you don't happen to be a voter in the U.S. Thank you so much for your time.
That's the word. Butch for governor. We will not accept less, even from away from the abroad.
Excellent. Thank you.
God bless. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Take care.
Hey everyone. Oh my God. Wasn't that an excellent, really, really just down to earth conversation with a politician, but a politician that's not your typical politician. We need to have more conversations like this because this is exactly what we need. We need people who will center people at the heart of politics, at the heart of what they do on a day-to-day basis. This is exactly what we need. This is where we need to get to, right? Oh, thank you so much for all of your comments. Thank you so much for engaging. I'm so chuffed. And like I said, look, if you guys have people you'd like me to invite on to be guests and let's have a conversation, real dialogue, because I don't have time for nonsense, and I'm not going to waste your time. So if you have people that you would love to join us on the live stream so we can conversate with them, DM me, and you got my details, my social media details out there as well, just underneath here. And you can also send me an email at hello@drshola.com. Thank you so much for joining me on this Tuesday, and I hope to see you all soon. Take care. Do not lose your head. Anything happening, let me know. And let's join together again on Thursday, same time, 8 p.m. GMT. God bless my brothers and sisters and non-binary. Speak soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching. Like, comment, share, and subscribe.